Hello and welcome. My name is Eric Osterling from the Kings River Conservation District, and I'm the Contract Program Manager for the South Fork Kings Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Today I will be providing you with an overview of the approach to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of 2014 implementation in the Tulare Lake Groundwater Subbasin, and with an update on current and planned activities specific to the South Fork Kings GSA's participation in that effort. For additional background on the Act and related regulations that are behind this activity, please visit www.kingsgroundwater.info. As you may know, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, was designed to be implemented by local water and land use agencies. The South Fork Kings GSA was formed in early 2017 in order to represent a portion of the Tulare Lake Subbasin in its implementation of the regulation. The new agency's first order of business is to develop a Groundwater Sustainability Plan, or GSP. Among other things, once completed, the GSP will describe sustainability thresholds for groundwater depletion and will list proposed conservation and water supply enhancement projects to be carried out during the implementation phase. Such strategies will be designed to achieve sustainability objectives within a 20-year timeframe. The SGMA grants several new authorities to GSAs. These include develop groundwater sustainability plans, well registration, metering, reporting, and monitoring, regulate, limit, or suspend groundwater production, procure surface water for replenishment, adopt rules, regulations, and ordinances, enforcement actions, and administrative fees and assessments. The Tulare Lake Subbasin has been identified by the state as being a high priority, critically overdrafted subbasin. This designation requires the entire subbasin to be covered by GSPs by January of 2020 and to meet sustainability objectives by the year 2040. The South Fork Kings GSA is one of 6 GSAs in the Tulare Lake Groundwater Subbasin. Joining the South Fork Kings, shown here in green, are the Southwest Kings, Tri-County, Alpha ID, El Rico, and Mid-Kings River. All of these GSAs are working collectively to coordinate their efforts as required under SGMA in order to achieve sustainability for the region. Here we have a more detailed view of the South Fork Kings GSA. Roughly, the area is bound to the west by Westlands Water District, to the north by the Clarks Fork of the Kings River, to the east by Kings County Water District and Melga Water District, and to the south by the Tulare Lake Basin Water Storage District. It includes Empire Westside Irrigation District, Stratford Irrigation District, Lemoore Canal and Irrigation Company, John Heinlein Mutual Water Company, a portion of the Santa Rosa Rancheria, and last but not least, the community of Stratford and city of Lemoore. Efforts to form the South Fork Kings GSA trace back to 2015 when water and land use agencies in the Kings River region began to engage in informal meetings to discuss the new state regulation and potential strategies for regional compliance. As GSA boundaries started to solidify, stakeholders in the South Fork Kings sub-area decided to formalize their effort through formation of a joint powers agency to service the GSA. The Joint Powers Agreement was executed in February of 2017. The new agency consists of 5-member entities represented by a 5-member board of directors. Members of the South Fork Kings GSA are the City of Lemoore, Empire Westside Irrigation District, Stratford Irrigation District, Stratford Public Utilities District, and the County of Kings. For more information on governance, please visit our website at www.southforkkings.org. The next step in the process is to develop a groundwater sustainability plan. While the state's requirements for groundwater sustainability plan content are the same for all GSAs, South Fork Kings GSA issues and solutions will be very specific to the unique challenges within the groundwater management area that it serves. The GSP will include a physical description of the groundwater management area, including groundwater conditions, a water budget covering a 50-year planning horizon, groundwater management criteria, a monitoring program, and projects that will ensure the region meets sustainability targets within 20 years. The plan will also define a series of measurable objectives and thresholds to be operated within in order to remain on course towards the sustainability goal. The regulation requires that each basin or subbasin submit an annual report, and every 5 years the state will evaluate a region's progress towards achieving sustainability and may intervene if significant inadequacies are identified. Rather than developing separate GSPs for each GSA, the 6 GSAs in the Tulare Lake Subbasin have agreed to proceed in developing a shared plan that will cover the entire subbasin. This plan will likely include chapters or an appendix detailing each GSA area as a separate management area of the basin, as well as possibly other jurisdictional and scientific management areas. The County of Kings was awarded a Proposition 1 planning grant to work with local GSAs to develop a first-of-its-kind local groundwater and surface water model for the subbasin. Version 1.0 of this model is scheduled for completion in early 2018 and will serve as the foundation for the development of the GSP. Meanwhile, GSAs in the Tulare Lake Subbasin have executed an interim coordination agreement to cost share an application for additional Prop 1 planning grant funding to support the development of the GSP itself. Included in the proposed scope of work, among other things, is the continued development and operation of the hydrologic model. The Act outlines several critical parameters that must be considered and addressed in all GSPs. It defines sustainability as management and use that can be maintained during the planning and implementation horizon without causing undesirable results. Undesirable results follow a significant and unreasonable standard that is in part defined by the regulation and in part will be defined by stakeholders in the GSP. Undesirable results in the South Fork Kings GSA may include chronic lowering of groundwater levels, reductions in groundwater storage, degraded water quality, land subsidence, and groundwater pumping-related surface water depletions that have an adverse impact on beneficial uses, including groundwater-dependent ecosystems. At this time, the only undesirable result that we can be certain doesn't apply to the South Fork Kings area is seawater intrusion. This slide is a simple illustration of possible metrics for monitoring a number of sustainability indicators and demonstrates both a minimum threshold, the level at which significant and unreasonable harm is being done, and a measurable objective, the level at which a GSP attempts to achieve. A GSP must describe emergency actions to be taken if or when measurement of a specific metric nears or exceeds a minimum threshold. The geology of the Tulare Lake Subbasin is rather complex compared to some of its neighboring subbasins. It contains multiple aquifers, and each will need to be monitored and maintained. Here we have an illustrative yet limited coverage look at shallow aquifer groundwater level conditions within the subbasin based on a spring 2011 survey of well water static elevations. Contours of equal elevation, such as those seen here in blue, can illustrate several things that may be occurring over space and time beneath our feet, including the gradient of groundwater flow. As surface water flows downhill, so too does groundwater. Groundwater gradient is largely influenced by seasonal and long-term occurrences of both surface water deliveries and groundwater pumping. Mounds of groundwater created beneath rivers, canals, and ponds spill away seeking out lower elevation areas and cones of depression, or holes, usually caused by localized groundwater pumping. In some cases, groundwater flow from pumping can result in negative impacts, such as wells going dry, or the movement of plumes of contaminated groundwater from one location to another. Surface subsidence is another sustainability indicator of groundwater pumping. This map was prepared by California Department of Water Resources and NASA using several highly sensitive radar-equipped satellites between October 2015 and March 2016. Areas shaded in blue and purple indicate little or no subsidence, while yellow through red shaded areas indicate concerning and critical levels of surface subsidence. Within the South Fork Kings GSA, this map indicates that there has been a level of subsidence occurring in recent years that will need to be evaluated and addressed within the GSP. Under SGMA, state intervention may only occur if any one of the following happens. By July 1, 2017, all medium and high priority basins were required to be fully covered by a GSA or GSAs. This deadline has passed with the Tulare Lake Subbasin having met this requirement. By February 1st of 2020, all critically overdrafted basins, which the Tulare Lake Subbasin qualifies as, must have developed and adopted a compliant GSP. The California Department of Water Resources performs the evaluation of completed plans and has the discretion to turn failing plans over to the State Water Resources Control Board for intervention. By February 1st of 2020, all non-critically overdrafted, high and medium priority basins are required to have their plans completed and adopted. This milestone does not apply to the Tulare Lake Subbasin, which is why it's stricken here in this slide. And finally, if by February 1st, 2025, a plan is deemed to be failing in controlling significant groundwater pumping related surface water impacts, at that time the State Board may intervene. If the State Board does intervene, both compliant and non-compliant areas of the particular basin or subbasin will be subject to the enforcement action. In other words, the entire basin or subbasin will be classified as probationary and directly managed by the State Board, even if only a portion is out of compliance, i.e. a bad actor. In this situation, the Board would implement fees to recover costs, they would require direct reporting by the groundwater pumpers, and they would develop an interim groundwater sustainability plan to manage the basin until which time local agencies are able to correct areas of noncompliance. Interim GSPs developed by the State Board would employ only a single strategy to meet sustainability objectives, and that would be to restrict groundwater pumping. Strategies such as groundwater recharge and procurement of additional surface water will not be options under a State Board plan. This slide illustrates a fee schedule adopted by the State Board in May of 2017. As I mentioned earlier, at this time there is no immediate concern that state intervention will occur in the South Fork Kings area since the initial milestone of agency formation and coverage of the subbasin has been met. However, if any other future milestone were not to be met, the following minimum costs can be expected. Each well owner must first pay a base filing fee of $300 for each well they own and operate. In addition to the base fee, the Board would impose a volumetric fee of $40 per acre-foot pumped, plus $55 per acre-foot more to cover the cost of the interim GSP development. You'll notice there are asterisks next to a couple of these numbers, and that's to indicate that if any special studies are deemed to be necessary to the development of the interim plan, those costs would be on top of rates identified here. Lastly, a late fee of 25% per month will be applied to any late payments received by the Board. So what does this look like applied to an agricultural groundwater pumper? In this example, a 50-acre farm is extracting 3.5 acre-feet per acre. In a probationary scenario, this 50-acre farm would be charged $146 for the 3.5 acre-feet per acre pumped, plus $199 per acre for the State Board to develop an interim GSP, coming to a grand total of just over $17,000 or $345 per acre per year. In order for the state to have the information necessary to assess fees that were outlined in the previous slide, groundwater pumpers in probationary basins will be required to report directly to the Board. Required data to be included in this reporting would include location and pumping capacity of the well or wells, extraction volumes by month, by well, and a description of the location of use and purpose of the use of the water extracted. There is an exemption for de minimis users located in unmanaged areas. A de minimis user is defined by the Act as extractors who only use the water for domestic purposes and whose use is less than 2 acre-feet of water per year. The South Fork Kings GSA encourages the involvement of all beneficial users of groundwater within its service area. We would like your help in spreading the word about what the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act is, efforts underway by the South Fork Kings GSA and surrounding agencies to comply, and that there are regular board meetings and other ways to participate. The board meets quarterly on the third Thursday of the month at 5:30 p.m. in the Lemoore City Council chambers. Notices of public meetings, including any special board or committee meetings that may be called in addition to the regular schedule, are posted at the South Fork Kings GSA website. Some examples of required tasks that will need broad stakeholder input include defining sustainability for the region, defining significant and unreasonable results thresholds, and identification of projects and approval of funding through Prop 218 or Prop 26 elections in order to implement those projects. This is a screenshot of the homepage at southforkkings.org. You'll notice on the left there is an interested person sign-up form for anyone who is interested in subscribing to the agency's e-news to stay informed on recent actions and planned activities for the South Fork Kings GSA. Visitors can use this main menu on the left, or the boxes on the right to learn more about the agency and view documents including notices, minutes, agenda, and eventually technical memos and reports. Thank you for your interest in the South Fork Kings GSA. Please be sure to subscribe to our e-news and check in at our website regularly for upcoming meetings and events. We look forward to your participation. Thank you.